Hello everyone, I'm Melissa McCarney, founder of Better Bosses, and today I'm going to walk you through how to use the Skill Will Matrix. I love this tool. It's a really great tool for evaluating your team members and working out how you can adjust your leadership style to bring out the best in them. Now I'm just going to get straight to it and share my screen with you so that you can see the tool. On the Better Bosses website, you can download this tool, and when you do, you can see here that there are some instructions on how to use it and when to use it. And I'll take you through the matrix step by step now. So it is a fairly simple 2x2 matrix. On one axis you have skill, and on the other axis you have will. So you've got low skill and high skill, and low will and high will. Now, each of the quadrants means something and guides you in how to work with your individual team members from the professional development point of view. And the best thing to do is plot your team members. Now, if you've only got one team member, it still works for you. If you have a bit of a layered structure team and you have a couple of direct reports or a number of direct reports who have people reporting into them, I would recommend that you ask your direct reports to fill this out first. And then I would have a quick meeting with your direct reports all together to discuss where each team member within the broader team fits within the matrix. Now, of course, you wouldn't plot your direct reports then, you could do that afterwards, but it's really helpful for your leadership team to look at where each member of the team sits in the matrix, and you'll see why that's important soon. Okay, so let's go through each quadrant and what they actually mean. So the first one here, let's go for the high skill, high will quadrant. So these are your high performers. They are your advocates. They're going to advocate for you. They're going to advocate for what the team is trying to achieve, and they're going to advocate for what the company wants to achieve. Now, the best thing that you can do for these people is empower them, give them lots of responsibility, challenge them, give them stretch projects, delegate to them, and collaborate with them when you're making big decisions. Get their input and their opinion. These are your high performers, and you really want to hold on to them. And of course, you want as many of them in your team as you can possibly get, but it doesn't always work that way. Generally speaking, you will have a mix of people who fall into all four quadrants within this matrix. So let's look at the next one, which is low skill, low will. Now, these are your low performers and also your potential resistors. They may resist change. They may also resist being involved in key projects. And these people can be quite tough to manage. They also often require a fair bit of your time, because the high performers you can delegate and let them run and just be there when they need advice, whereas your low performers you're going to have to manage quite directly on a day-to-day basis, and you supervise their work. What's really important here is that you set clear expectations for them, and then when you're supervising them and managing them, you're checking their performance against those expectations. Now let's have a look at the next quadrant, which is the low skill but high will. So these are your aspiring team members. They are willing followers. They want to be there. They believe in what you are trying to achieve and what the team's trying to achieve. They just don't quite have the full skill set that they need yet. And these are great people to have in your team, because the will is harder to, I guess, teach someone, but you can always teach someone skills, and you can always invest in that skill development. So your aspiring team members need to be coached. They need to be guided and just continually engaged and kept excited, so that that will stays there whilst they're developing their skills, and then they can move into that high performance quadrant. The next quadrant is the high skill, low will quadrant. So these are your capable people. You know that they know what they have to do in their jobs, and they're a safe pair of hands for what that job is, but they don't necessarily seem overly enthusiastic or don't have that kind of driving force to really deliver over and above what their job is every day. Now, these people can be really important to have in your team because they have a lot of technical capabilities, and sometimes you need that to actually move forward. But you just also need to be careful because they can be potential blockers. So they may be sitting there happily doing their work, but they will block change. They will be kind of stuck in their ways. So how you can move people forward when they're in that kind of capable quadrant can be a little bit of a challenge, but of course it's always possible. So what they need is your guidance and your support, and motivating them and encouraging them to participate and be part of the vision that you and your team are trying to achieve can actually move them into that high performance quadrant. So what you're really trying to do is work with each of your team members to adjust your style to bring out the best in them by understanding where they sit within this matrix. Now, there will be some team members who probably kind of move around in this middle section here, and even from day to day, they might be sitting in the aspiring quadrant and kind of drop the wheel for various reasons. So this is why exciting and engaging these people is really, really important. But yeah, people change quadrants, and that's natural. And actually, if you're doing a really good job of leading them, you would really expect to see some movement from these quadrants into others. So what you're trying to do is move these capable people into the high performers quadrant. The same with the aspiring people, moving them up into high performers. And this quadrant here is an interesting one, the low performers. You obviously would really like to move them up here, but you may find you need to go one of these ways first. So you might need to address the skill side of things and get their skill set up, or address the will side of things. Eventually, of course, you'll need to address both, but working with the individual and what's going to be the best progression for them is really important. And then you obviously want to move them into this high performers. So I mentioned before how beneficial it is to actually talk about this, where your team sits within the quadrant with your leadership team. Let me just give you an example of how this has worked in a leadership team that I was a part of previously. So I was heading up the marketing department, and I was a member of the executive team. So there was a head of distribution and a head of IT, and we all mapped our teams out on this quadrant, and then on this matrix, and then we showed the results to the entire executive team, including the CEO. And what that helped us identify was, across the entire organisation, who are the high performers. And also, was I putting someone in the high performer category who other people actually thought didn't belong in that category? So did I have maybe some blind spots around that person, or did I have someone in the aspiring category who they thought was a bit closer to being a high performer? So it helps give you some broader perspective. And then what it also helps you do is, as an organisation, we identified who the high performers were. So let's say, for example, I had a high performer in the marketing team and I needed to give them a stretch. Well, the head of distribution and the head of IT were in the room. So we could work together to say, well, what if this person actually took on a stretch project in the distribution team or in the IT team that helped them develop their skill sets? Because what you really want to do with high performers is hold on to them and make sure that you're using all of that amazing skill and that drive to benefit the entire organisation. So giving them stretch assignments across the business can really help. So that's the benefit of talking about your entire team with the leadership team, whether that's the leadership team you sit in, or whether it's you and your direct reports talking about the broader team. And as I said before, if you only have one person in your team or two people in your team, this works amazingly well, because the theory behind it is the same. Work out where they sit and then adjust how you work with them on a day-to-day basis to really develop them into the highest performer you possibly can. Now, of course, it's their job at the end of the day to become a high performer. But as a leader and as their boss, it's your job to help them do that and to guide them to become the best that they can be. So good luck with the tool. I hope you really enjoy using it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at hello@betterbosses.com.au. Thank you.